Okay, we're going to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. Present are council members Bub, Cost, Floyd, Marmee, and Mr. Frazier. And I will spell his name correctly. First item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Newark to submit an application to the Ohio Department of Public Safety for an award of fiscal year 2016 and 2017 funding under the Ohio EMS Training and Equipment Grant.
This is our annual application that we submit to Public Safety for our EMS supplies. For the 2015 to 16 year, we were awarded $3,500. So we do not know our allocation for the upcoming state fiscal year, which is July 1 through June 30th, 2016 to 17.
Okay.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Floyd, second by Bub. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $4,750.
This money specifically is for the contributions from private entities in regards to our ATV that we're purchasing for access to the bike path and all the things on the square, strawberries on the square, fireworks at CFTC, all those things that we're using, we need that ATV. We've raised private funds for that. I'm just asking for that money to be transferred back into our account so we can pay for that.
Motion.
Motion by Bub, second by Cost. Questions or discussion? Are we self-insuring this? What is kind of the plan with this?
That might be a question for Director Rhodes if he's here, but yes, it's part of our fleet. I think we talked about this before as far as maintenance costs go and those types of things. It's going to be part of our fleet and maintained as well, probably with the insurance.
Yeah.
Can you answer that?
Yeah. Once you get it in-house, we will take the serial number and contact our insurance company and let them know that we have that as a vehicle or
okay.
That'll be insured. Yes, we will.
Is it going to be licensed for the road?
We would like it to be roadworthy. However, we do have a trailer that's part of the cost that we will trailer it. However, if there's something very local, we want to have that license to be able to take it on the road very locally here somewhere. Right. It will have turn signals and headlights and all those types of things that make it legal.
Okay. Yes.
Refresh my memory. What do you expect the total expenditure for that vehicle?
The total expenditure is $17,000.
Thank you.
That comes with a med light bed where we can transport somebody on a backboard and carry EMS equipment to them in the field somewhere. We have had many emergencies over the years on the bike path where it's difficult to get a medic unit to that location to transport a patient in a situation where they're on a backboard or they've wrecked their bicycle or such. And this will give us access to that, safer access to the bike path, mainly.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Do you plan on putting this at Station 1?
It'll be housed at Station 1, that's correct.
Any additional questions? Comments?
For Mr. Chair. Yeah. So if there's an emergency comes through bike path, is the plan to put the trailer, take it out there? Is there an emergency response for this vehicle, or is it just mainly for special events? And
we are going to address that when we get the unit. We'll have to do some training on it prior to putting it in service, make sure that it has all the things that we need to be compatible with the emergencies that we're run to, and we're going to address that when it gets here. Probably write policy on it, exactly how it is to respond. So we're not going to race to get this thing in service right away where it's responding to emergencies until we have policy in place. But we had to raise the money to make it a reality before we actually did that.
thank you.
Okay.
Anything else? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next item, I believe it's the same thing, just an additional $6,500. Entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Bub, second by Floyd. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, that motion passes 5-0. The last item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Newark to prepare and submit an application to the Ohio Department Services Agency for a community housing improvement grant award for federal fiscal year 2016.
The city will be eligible this year for another 2-year grant. We plan to apply for the maximum amount, which will be $250,000.
Questions?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Bub, second by Floyd. Further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, that motion passes 5-0. The last thing that is not on the agenda, I do want to wish Councilperson Floyd a very successful surgery and a quick recovery.
Thank
and
you.
we will miss you until you get back.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So, and with that, we stand adjourned.
All right, we'll call the Service Committee meeting to order. Those present are myself, Frazier, Floyd, Bub, and Cost. Our first item on the agenda is to consider Resolution 16-10, authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service of the City of Newark, Ohio, to apply for, accept, and enter into a supplemental water pollution control loan fund agreement on behalf of the City of Newark for planning, design, and/or construction of wastewater facilities, downtown sewer separation, and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan. Mr. Loomis, you have the floor.
Yeah, this is really part of the project where we are connecting the downtown renovation project to the Route 13 ODOT project. There's a segment between Church Street and Locust that we're going to be connecting those sewer pipes from one project to the other. In the initial planning of this, we didn't really know whether this was going to be in the ODOT project or going to be in our downtown project, so it kind of got, we're just going to set it off until we could see when the timing came together on this. And so we're going to go forward with this supplemental loan. I'll say that this is a worst case scenario for the amount of money we need. We have money in contingency for this in the loan, but we hate to use contingencies at this early stage because if something else comes up, I got an issue, and we want to make sure we got money to pay for the work. So that's kind of, we're going to use it as a change order to EIGL and use the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund, and this would be the maximum amount we would use if everything went wrong.
So you're talking about 1.4.
1.4 million.
1.4 million. And this is going down 2nd Street?
This would be 3rd Street from Church to Locust.
Which street?
3rd Street.
3rd Street, okay. From Church to Locust.
Extension of Hudson Avenue, basically.
Okay.
I don't know where it divides from Hudson to 3rd, and somewhere in there it goes and changes. But
So you borrow the 1.4 million and say it only costs you 400,000. What happens to the other $1 million?
we just, without water pollution control loan funds, we only borrow what we need. So you get a loan for X amount. If you don't use it, it's not like a bond. You're just going to borrow whatever you need.
So it's more like a $1.4 million line of credit.
Basically, right. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and with these loans, this is another thing. You don't pay anything back until the project's done. So the payment back on this is not going to happen until 2018. So.
Okay. And I saw this starts in the spring of 2017.
Yeah, but we got to get we've got the plans about done now. The contractor will give us the price. I got to have the money in place. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a,
Lining everything up.
Get these things done before we can't agree to go into it unless I got funds to do it. So that's what this is about. So.
Yep, I understand that. Line everything up.
Mr. Chair.
All right. Mr. Frazier.
The contingency, is it in the 13 and Hudson Avenue project, or is it in the downtown?
The downtown renovation
The
project.
downtown renovation project?
Route 13 project is what's called a SIB loan, which is a state infrastructure bank loan. So we're getting a little bit better deal on the water pollution control loan fund. 2.1%, I believe, is the interest we're at. So.
Any other questions from any community members?
Make a motion.
I have a question, I'm sorry. So when will you know if that contingency is available or not?
Well, the contingency is available today.
You just don't know if you're going to spend it over the next 6 months?
We're about 30% in the project. We hate to commit those funds now in case I run into something, and then we're scrambling, and so we're trying to get this out of the way first. So.
Okay. Mr. Bob, did you have a question?
No, I just made a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bob, second by Floyd. Any other questions from the community members? Any other questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Levis, I appreciate your time. And the service committee meeting is adjourned. Up next will be capital improvements.
I'll call the Capital Improvements Committee together. The members present are Fraser, Roletta, Rath, Hall, and Johnson. We have one thing, the appropriation for unappropriated balance, capital improvement fund of $15,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first thing I want to point out, the $15,000 that we're appropriating is leftover capital improvement dollars from the year 2015. It is not this year's capital improvement dollars. When money's moved into the capital improvements accounts, it stays in there. This is unspent money. So, not that it's free or anything, but I want to point out it's not out of 16's capital improvement dollars. I've got two items that need taken care of, and I'll break them apart. The first one is building maintenance. Of that $10,000, $7,500 of that will go into a roof for a house that the city owns. It is a roof that's dead. I've been out there. There's water coming in. We looked at several different ways to repair it. It's really not repairable. It's time to re-roof it. The other $2,500 will go into the building maintenance fund, which I will only spend if we have an emergency, say an air conditioner unit go out, something of that nature. So that would speak to the first $10,000. And if the committee decided they didn't want to appropriate that extra $2,500 and would like me to come back, I'd be happy to do that at a later date if a need came up. But I just thought I'd get it all out since it was last year's money. That was the thought behind that. The $5,000 is for down at the new parking lot that was built between the fire station and the police station. We want to put a sidewalk between the new parking lot that leads to the fire station, and then we also want to put a gate in the fence of the police station. Both of these items were determined by the auditor to not be items that we could use loan money for, because it didn't have anything to do with the buildings. So he felt it was a better use to use these dollars for that. What that does is when the fire people, when they park, they don't have to walk clear out to the front of the building, down the sidewalk and down, or they don't track mud in. For the police department, you don't have a police officer parking, walking around the building, coming in the back of the building. He just goes through the gate right there. Both of them make sense. Now, the actual expense of these is a little closer to $8,500. I do have $3,500 from donations from the Evans Foundation towards that project, but I do need the $5,000.
Pleasure. Mr. Rath.
How much more money do you have in the 2015 capital improvement budget?
This is it. That's the total appropriation of the 15.
Okay.
And that's why I asked to get it all out. That way it cleans it out.
Motion by Rath,
Second.
second by Hall. Any other discussion?
I have a question. Where's this house at? The house?
This house, it's on T.J. Evans Park.
And is it occupied?
It is.
Mr. Marmee?
Pardon me?
Yeah, with our definition of capital improvements, roofs, I think we have in the past seen that as a capital improvement. I think the sidewalk is. It's the extra $2,500. Will it meet the definition? We have a building maintenance account in the general fund that normally little maintenance type of items fall under that. I just don't see where we're going to be able to spend $2,500 where it says it is a true capital improvement unless we put it towards other things.
Yeah.
So if you put it under that building maintenance, then I really feel that that may not be the appropriate place for it. I'd be happy just to put it over in the paving.
And I'd be happy to put it in the paving too. Well, my intent was just to clear the balance out, just to get it off the books for the auditor. I'm okay if somebody puts an amendment in that says they'd like that $2,500 to go to paving. I just didn't really know where to put it. Or I'm okay with letting it sit and having me come back here and tell you what the use for that $2,500 would be. My intent was just to clear the account out so the auditor can get it off the books for 15.
Any other questions?
When do we have to have it off the books?
We don't.
Okay.
We don't. It's just it's nothing more than a housekeeping there. Got housekeeping on it. And that's why I wanted to break it apart to you and tell you the roof was about $7,500 and that was $2,500.
I, for one, would be okay with putting the $2,500 into paving. I'm just not exactly sure what the procedure is.
You just make a motion. You'd make a
Do that
motion.
here, or?
You can do it here. You can do it on the floor.
All right, I'll make a motion to amend the first line item to be $7,500 towards the roof, $2,500 to go directly into paving.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to amend and put the $2,500 into paving.
It'll be used there.
All right.
Do at least a quarter mile.
Those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. And now then, the original motion
As amended.
as amended. And we
Calling for a vote on it?
we already have, I'll call for a vote on that. Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5. With that, we are
All right, we'll call to order the Safety Committee meeting. On tonight's agenda is a presentation by Chief Connor of the 2015 annual report. Chief Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All those members present, Jerry, Blake, Rath, Frazier, Johnson, and Floyd. Now, Chief.
I appreciate your time tonight. I just basically want to cover this. I sent this by email to most of you. I think there's a few in the crowd that have asked for me to send this to them as well. If I forget, it is on our website. We did post it last weekend on our website, so it is available to view there as well. The information provided in this report is statistical and factual-based data to what's going on in the City of Newark Fire Department. Other fire departments, not all fire departments, but other fire departments share information here. We look at each other's data and the different types of things in order to try to provide a better service. A lot of fire chiefs get together and leaders in the fire service get together to try to make their organizations better. I'm one of those people that does communicate with other fire chiefs regularly in order to find ways of making our department as good as it can be. On that same note, last year, we kind of started an initiative with getting some word out to the public, and I know it's slow going, but through Twitter and our website, we're getting information out to the public more now than we ever have been before. So I think if you don't move along with the new day and age of social media, that's how people communicate now. Sometimes it's not necessarily the paper, but it's social media. So we can get immediate information out, and I think that was big. I know Chief Connell at the police department and I both communicate on this, and we share information both our Twitter pages. So if you don't have us on Twitter, it give you updated information sometimes on what's going on in our community live. live. Whether we have a fire going in the East End or he has a burglary in progress, sometimes we have things to help people avoid areas of traffic congestion and other things. So I thought that was a big thing to try to get with the younger crowd in America today and communicate on social media. As we went through 2015, there obviously were a lot of things that happened. I was sworn in as chief February the 2nd, and we have continued to try to get through the year on the budget that we had. Overtime was obviously an issue and discussed with staffing. It has always been a topic of conversation. Last year's budget for the fire department was at $8,038,000, and that is, it's right about where we've been. We've been declining slowly. The general fund budget, obviously, and income tax, everything's been declining over a period of time. So we're functioning at one of the lowest levels we've had as far as our operating budget in 10 years, and a 10-year trend. It causes the fire department and the police department, anybody in government, to make some significant adjustments to what you're doing in order to survive. I still think that the fire department continues to be efficient and provides a great service to the city of Newark. I think the world of the firefighters that work every day. I think that they do a wonderful job. I'm proud of that. And the workload that we have. I think that this fire department does continue to maintain a very high respect level among other fire chiefs of cities our size and such. I communicate with them very, very regularly, and we are a very respected fire department within the realm of fire departments in our area and our region. Our total budget handprint last year reflects about 90% dedicated to personnel and 10% operating costs. Obviously, 10 years ago it was more like 85 or 15. It's going the wrong way. It's tough to maintain a business model that shows 90-10. And hopefully we can try to, with hopefully more revenue coming into the city at some point, we can try to balance that a little bit better and be able to put more money into capital needs, which I'll cover here in a little bit. We're constantly looking at contracts to save money. Any type of contracts we have within the fire department on a very low level, whether that's the mats we provide at the front doors of the stations to trash service. So we're looking at every line item that we have in our budget and making adjustments. Even if it's a little bit of money, we're doing that. And we're constantly every day trying to make efficiencies in the fire department to show our stewardship that we're trying to save every dollar that we possibly can to get through. We redesigned our paramedic units to be a smaller chassis, something that can be serviced locally, and better turnaround times on our maintenance needs, and seems less downtime for response to the community. So we're doing everything we can to do that. We're still doing the Go Green initiative. I know it created some issues here at City Hall with some things that we wanted to go paperless on. Some parts of our City Hall here don't like that you don't have a piece of paper. It's on a computer somewhere, and an electronic signature, they don't understand that. So we're trying to get into the new age of doing paperless things. Saving paper is a good thing. Over a period of time, you use a lot of paper. We used to in the fire department. We're not doing that much anymore. We altered our response plan last year based on metrics, which are provided in this report at the end of the report, to place our response apparatus in areas where they're most needed. Obviously, it was a very controversial decision of mine last year to brown out Station 4 at the east end of Newark. I did that based on the availability of money and staffing issues that we had and the response volume in that area. So that was done basically by data alone. Doesn't make the people in the east end of Newark any less important. It just matters. I just put the resources where the call volume is, that I can answer those calls, most of the calls in a decent amount of time. However, it must be noted that we are covering the east end of Newark from our downtown station with any issues last year. We just continue to knock on wood that we're going to be able to provide a good service moving forward. We talk about accreditation. Currently, we were worried there for a while that the decrease in funding and staffing that we were going to be in jeopardy of losing our accreditation status. However, we've met with the accreditation company, the people, and we are still currently being able to be accredited, and we're going to move forward in 2017 with reapplying to be reaccredited. So everything is moving forward in that aspect. A lot of things about accreditation, people wonder what that means. And in my world, it means a couple different things. It means that we're looking at everything we do from A to Z, and it requires you to do that. And it requires you to look at your response plans and all the things, your strategic plans, your 3-year plans out, all this, and try to make your department as efficient, as effective as it possibly can be. That That also does, in some level, move you up in the grant process. Now, that's controversial, but I do know that I've heard that being accredited helps you qualify for grants. You might move to the front of the list if you're tied with somebody because they know you're being responsible with the money and you're looking at your organization every day to try to be most efficient and professional. So we're going to continue to be accredited as long as we possibly can, and we put some effort into that. That takes a lot of administrative work and physical work to make that happen. So we have a 3-year strategic plan. I'm not going to read that to you, what's going on. We are trying to always look at increasing our staffing. I know that's something that, as a fire chief, I'd always like to have more firefighters, and I think most of the community would, but there is only so many dollars to go around, and we'll work to the best of our ability to try to increase our fire staffing coverage. It is a goal of mine to be able to open up the East End Fire Station and completely staff our city the way I think it should be, with the money and the dollars that we have appropriated. So I'm trying to be as efficient as I can in all line items so we can free up some money to potentially do some other things operationally. We do have some capital needs moving forward. I know Director Rhodes, myself, Director Spurgeon have all met, and we've talked about what our capital needs look like. And anytime you have a fleet, an apparatus, a fire apparatus, they're very expensive. Just in case you don't know, a fire truck is right around $550,000 for one fire truck. That does not include the equipment that goes on the truck. A ladder truck can be anywhere from $800,000 to $1.2 million to replace. Our fleet right now is currently aging significantly, and we have provided a vehicle replacement plan to Director Rhodes and the administration here. They're aware of that. We're attempting our best to make a plan to get back on some sort of replacement plan where the city can afford that. That is a lot of money. I know it's a need. It's not a want. It's the maintenance costs right now. I believe we have $110,000 that we use in our maintenance budget annually, and we do spend that, all of that, and usually some others where we have to transfer money at the end of the year to pay some maintenance costs on those fire apparatus. They're very expensive to maintain. We are a very busy fire department. Comparatively speaking with other fire departments our size, that's just the demographic that we have, and we continue to provide that service. So our trucks are on the road. I'm sure you've seen fire trucks every day as you go through Newark. One thing I noticed about Newark, as you go through Newark, you see fire trucks. They're out on runs and they're doing things, and you don't see that in some other cities. We're very active with the community, whether that's doing education, prevention needs, or anything like that, or runs. So we're trying to stay out there and get involved with the community, but there's a cost associated with that as well. We talk about the records management system that we currently have. The fire department is very fortunate that we got on board with this early. There was more of a vision years and years ago of being able to measure what we do. I know Director Spurgeon and I talk frequently about being able to measure what we do, and that helps all the public understand exactly what's going on, data and specific information. So we have a records management system that monitors everything we do, and I try to put that information at the end of this report that you can see exactly what we do and when and how. Some of that information at the end of this report is accreditation. It's all based on accreditation and 90th percentile information. That information is included in this report because other fire departments that are accredited or want to be accredited look at that information, and you probably can identify and understand that more than your average citizen. And the conversation was, that do you think the average citizen would understand this specific part of our report? The answer is no, they may not. But this is also for entities outside of us, the other Newarks somewhere that are looking to do something positive, that they can kind of look and call us for information. We share information to make their departments better as well. We do have technology in the fire department. We have state-of-the-art technology. Our computer dispatching center, everything through the Licking County Regional Communications Center is computerized now. We have computers in our apparatus where we get the calls immediately. We push button en route. All the things that we do is measured. So we measured our times from the time you call 911 to the time the dispatcher picks up the phone, to the time they tone us on the call, to the time we get in the truck and mark en route, and to the scene. We measure it all and where we stand on a national standard. I think it's important to measure those things in order that we're keeping up with providing the best service we can. It helps us identify if there's an issue. So we're pretty happy with where we're at in our technology right now. But we're always looking to get better. The 911 Center has done a nice job working with us and getting the technology we need to do that. As far as our physical resources is concerned, we opened a new fire station this year. We replaced the station, the old station at 75 South 4th that was built in 1950. The station was old, and we just were comfortable with that because we didn't know any better. But the fact of the matter is it was missing a lot of the standards that firefighters need today for a lot of different reasons. Cancer prevention, just being safe, and the building was becoming a maintenance problem for the city. So it was a wonderful time for us to be able to open that building. It is serving us very well. And like I said before, state-of-the-art technology was definitely thought about, and I thought it was a very well thought-out process that this administration, Director Spurgeon and I worked on this as the building was being built, and we kept up on every week we met with the construction team and made adjustments as we needed to make the building what it can be, most efficient. But it does manage all of our computer records management systems. It's got a healthy living lifestyle, separate washing areas for your uniforms and your fire gear. That has to be separate by NFPA standards. Diesel abatement systems, so we're not breathing in the diesel particulate, which is causing lung cancer. Separate storage areas for our fire gear. We want to get all the stuff off of our clothes from an emergency. We don't want to take that home with us. We don't want to put that into our living quarters, so we've separated all that, and that's by NFPA recommendations and what the health standards are for firefighters today. The cancer rate in firefighters continues to increase, so we're trying to be a steward and reduce that at our level. I think each one of the firefighters has been touched by someone they know that's died of cancer in the fire service. So and these are the most important part of the fire department of the people, so we want to protect them as best we can. The station also provides a safe apparatus area that's back from State Route 13, where we're not backing trucks in a busy highway. We can pull through the bays. It's a very, very energy efficient building. There are no frills to this building. It is built very to needs based. Lights all come and go on timers and those types of things. Everything was kind of thought of. So currently, I'm very happy with the way the building is. I think the firefighters really enjoy having a nice, comfortable, clean place to work. So I do thank you for that. We talked a little bit about our fleet earlier, and it's one of our primary concerns moving forward with capital needs. And I know that capital money in this year has been removed from the budget. That is a concern of mine, obviously. I'm trying to do everything I can to we talked with the mayor and the safety director and everybody. We have great conversations about this. There's no different from needs throughout other cities than ours, but it's my job to talk to them and tell them what my needs are. And we currently have many vehicles right now that are in need of replacement. Provided an apparatus replacement schedule to Director Rhodes, and he's well aware of what our needs are. We're trying to consciously think of some way to get these needs met. They are not a little bit of a need. They're upwards of $1.5 million in needs immediately. Postponing the capital improvement monies for a year with us is really compounding the problem for me, not postponing it. But most importantly, we keep everyone employed at the fire department, and we've got people there. I will do my very best to try to keep those trucks maintained and safe on the road for everyone, but the need is there, and I've provided that need. It is important to note that we go by what's in NFPA standards, National Fire Protection Agency standards, 1901, and it talks about replacement schedules for your fire apparatus. Your first frontline fire apparatus, your reserve fire apparatus, we're there with about 4 of our fire apparatus. They need to be placed into reserve status, and some of them need to be gone. I continue to put maintenance money into those to keep them on the road and safe. So I will continue to do that to keep people employed, and at some point something had to give, and that's it. But the thing is that we're having good dialogue with trying to come up with that plan and be able to. What is the way we can make this plan work to get our apparatus and our fleet up to snuff right now? Let's see here. We did purchase a medic unit this year. It's beautiful. It's a Station 1. It is. Like I discussed before, we reduced the chassis down to a smaller chassis, less maintenance needs, it's maintained locally. Those things I think are are conscious decisions that you make to try to reduce the burden on the city and the money that we're spending there. Our staff vehicles, the vehicles for our 40-hour staff and prevention needs, are all very old, and they are all over 100,000 miles. They are having some maintenance issues, significant. I have to put the money into our frontline apparatus and our paramedic units mostly. However, we were very blessed with being able to get $20,000 this year in capital money to be able to purchase 3 used vehicles from Norwich Township Fire Department in Hilliard. We've taken those in and restriped them, and they're in service. They are in much better shape, so it moved our administrative staff vehicles up a little bit and helps us have a safe vehicle to move forward. So we'll liquidate everything else we sell on gov deals, and get rid of some of the older vehicles. So I appreciate that money was given to us, and it's used every day very well, so I appreciate that. We just also placed in a new command vehicle. You may see it's a red Ford Explorer, new Ford Explorer that replaced its Battalion 1. He is the incident commander and run shift commander for every day. We have 3 of them, 3 separate shifts. So they house that at Station 1. And every emergency in town, they are the incident commander. They maintain all the personnel needs of the day. They run the shift in my absence. I'm there as the administrative need, but they run the operational part of the fire department every day and do a wonderful job. The vehicle they had was in bad shape, and we had got almost 13, 14 years out of it. It was high mileage, so we're definitely getting our years out of the vehicles that we're using. And it has been placed in reserve status, the old one, just in case something needs to happen with maintenance. We have something to bump into right away. But we're very happy that we got that new command unit for the fire department in the community. We, at the end of the year last year, purchased some 7 Marks radios. Marks radios are the multi-agency radio communications through the state of Ohio. It's the radio platform that Licking County is going to. A lot of the departments in this county are starting to really buy into this system. We're kind of leading the way there. We got grant money years ago for that, about $280,000 several years back to go to this platform, and Licking County has been on board putting a tower up and leading the way into the future of technology, radio technology. So we did not have any spare radios all these years, so we were able to purchase 7 radios, which will go in service, some as spares and some right into service to help our communication needs. If we were to have a second emergency where we would recall off-duty personnel, they'll have safety within a radio with them so they can communicate. Our Station 2 on Hollander Street does not have an actual physical generator to the building. If there's a storm blows through, they didn't have air conditioning or they don't have heat, these types of things. It was a rollout generator that plugged in and ran very few things. Sometimes not. The overhead doors have to go up. So we've purchased a generator that's being installed at Station 2. We looked at repurposing the generator from the old Station 1 to Station 2, but the cost of taking that up there and replacing parts were hard to come by. It was very old. It was most effective to purchase a new generator, which we did, which was a small increase. But it was a necessary purchase, and it provides better service to the north end that we can take care of the building up there, get the doors up when we have an emergency and power outages and stuff. That's not uncommon. In our emergency medical services world, a very exciting thing happened this year. We've got a new medical director. And a medical director serves the fire department in purpose of, they allow us to do all the medical things that we do to the patients that we run on in the city of Newark under their license. They train us, they write protocol, and years ago you used to have to call on the phone to the hospital and say, hey, here's what's going on with the patient, we'd like to do this, and they'd have to authorize this. A medical director that works with your division gives you the training and allows you to go out and do that with their implied approval. So that's what we do. He is Dr. Ashish Penkal. He is he's board certified emergency physician, and he's the director of EMS and residency at The Ohio State University. So the second greatest thing that we could do with him, having him there, is we have a relationship with Ohio State University, which brings training and training aids and all of the resources that Ohio State offers to the Newark Fire Department. So I thought that was a win-win situation for us. He's very, very active with us now. We continue to be cutting edge in our EMS using drugs such as tranexamic acid, which we were the first in America to give that pre-hospital. by about an hour or two. But we were the first to give that in America. It helps trauma patients stop bleeding. We also continue with our cardiocerebral resuscitation protocol, which is different than CPR that you're used to. And as we've reported many times before, our cardiac arrest save rates in Newark are higher than the national average. So we're very proud about that. We do have some capital needs in EMS as well. We've got a couple cardiac heart monitors that need replaced because the provider is discontinuing what we currently have. So they're about $30,000 a piece. We need 2 of them. So moving forward into 2016, we'll develop a plan to get those replaced as well. Okay. I would like to mention in this report that a nice project, I worked with several entities at Licking Memorial Hospital in order to get our radio systems working within the hospital. Our medic units are there every day, multiple times, sometimes 20, 25 times a day, and the radio system, the Marks radio system, was not working inside that building. Rob Montaganese, the president and CEO of LMH, stepped up and paid $70,000 to outfit his building with everything we needed to have our radios work inside. He's been I can't say enough about the partner he's been in the Newark Fire Department in helping us provide service to the community. He's helped us in a number of different ways, and he's getting ready to purchase all new modems for our monitors. When you would take a EKG of your heart, we can transmit that to Licking Memorial Hospital, and they're ready for you when you walk in the door if you're having a heart attack. He's replacing all the modems for us for free. He's just really been a steward with us, and we really appreciate what he's done to keep us on the road and providing that great service that we do. Training is always a very important part of the Newark Fire Department. Any fire department, training is a big focus, and we do have a training captain that manages our training. And I know I spelled out in there how many hours, how many classes we had, how many man-hours of training that we have. Really importantly to me, what stands out in this report is that 7 different training institutions come and ride with us. They see the benefit in sending their students to ride with the Newark Fire Department and get some experience here. There's not many fire departments that have that. It's a well-respected fire department, well-respected EMS division that we provide, and students want to come here and ride. That makes me happy because we do provide a great service. I'm happy to let the paramedics on the street of Newark teach others how to do the job. It's wonderful that people look up to us like that. We'd like to continue to do that as well moving forward. We do have a need in prevention. We are down to one full-time prevention officer on the street every day. And we have 1,800 businesses in Newark, about 1,100 probably actual physical buildings that need inspected. And last year we only inspected 431 of those buildings. There's only so much time in the day for one inspector. There is discussion with Local 109, the Firefighters Union, Director Spurgeon, everybody in regards to how can we fill that need, and discussions are ongoing in order to potentially get somebody to inspect in the city of Newark, get some more inspections done. The safest fire we ever have is one that never happens. So that's the point of prevention, and hopefully we can do that. We constantly are working with the American Red Cross and other agencies in Licking County to provide smoke detectors to the citizens of Newark. We want to be proactive there. That's a prevention need. I'd like to have more people in prevention where I can go and really put out there more education to the people in Newark, and to try to prevent fire fatalities moving forward. If you've watched the news recently, there's been quite a few fire fatalities. It is that time of year, unfortunately, where people don't have the adequate heating that they need, and alternative heating sources and smoke detectors do save lives. So I'd like to be able to more proactive approach in our community with prevention, and it takes a person to do that, or two. So that's something, a goal of 2016 is to try to get some more prevention on our streets of Newark. We have an arson investigator, our fire marshal, who is extremely busy every day. He manages every time we have a fire, he takes a look at what's going on. It's a very thankless job, honestly, for him. He works very, very hard. I'm very impressed with his professionalism. But he did 123 investigations, and we had 1 fire fatality last year, 1 juvenile conviction, and 1 misdemeanor adult conviction. That doesn't mean we don't have people that are out doing things. It's very difficult work to be able to get people that are setting fires in our town to get them arrested. So he continues to work countless hours to do that. He does a wonderful job, very wonderful job. We'll continue to be accredited as we move forward. I discussed that already, which I think that was going to be... in 2015, we submitted a report to the Commission, and by a majority of vote of the Commission that does the accreditation, it was determined that we're credible currently and still. And just to summarize and just kind of mention one thing I know is kind of something that we've had a lot of phone conversations about and discussions in City Hall about is the East End Fire Station and where we're at with that. And as I included in the report there, as you can see, fire statistics, 5.5% of the runs were in that district, comparatively speaking. It was all metric based, my decision making there. And of course, I live here and I work all of the fire stations over 22 years. We know, the firefighters that work there know where the runs are and those types of things, but until you can put it on paper to share that with everyone else. 9% of the EMS runs. So we have 5% fire, 9% of the EMS runs. So the decisions that I make are not necessarily decisions because I think I feel. They are always going to be based on data, metric-based data, and there's a reason behind that. So I want you to know that that's how decisions are being made. We break down our EMS calls by nature, fire calls by nature. I don't know if that's interesting to you or not, what we do. I thought it's always interesting to look back and see what kind of calls we actually are going on. And some people really enjoy those statistics, so hopefully you do as well. With that, I'm done. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them while I stand here.
We'll open up for questions. Any questions?
I just want to thank you for a very comprehensive report.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Yeah, I too would like to thank you. And I mean, I just think we have such an excellent fire department. Unfortunately, I live in an area where there have been a number of fires over the years, and you know, they're right there, and you know, and I appreciate everything they did. And I do appreciate the fact that you were involved in the funeral the other day. You know, it was live on Channel 4, and I could see the fire trucks, and
absolutely.
I appreciated that.
We work very closely with the police department in a number of different things, and if that was us, they would be there for us as well. Right. We are one family providing public safety. I don't care if it's fire or police or EMS. We are providing a service to the public, and we'll always, you know, help each other out.
Well,
thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. That was a great report, and of course we're all very appreciative and in everything that you guys do.
Thank you.
So I did have one question for you. You had mentioned that the LMH was replacing all of your modems.
Yes.
The question I have is, to what estimated cost is that, and what are some other things that LMH is doing in conjunction with fire and EMS?
LMH, the cost of the modems, I don't have that right off the top of my head. My EMS captain deals with that specifically. I know that it would be a capital burden to continue to try to purchase these type of items with our heart monitors. I know that Licking Memorial Hospital purchased several of these heart monitors for us to be able to provide service, and I said they're $30,000 a piece with everything that we need on them. LMH has always been a steward in trying to keep us trained. They provide anything we need. If there's any need out in the community EMS-wise, I can make a phone call. At some point, the hospital's been overly generous to us, and I don't want to have a burden on them to feel like they have to do that. But I'm very, very confident that they support us. They know that the Newark Fire Department in this county, the county seat, brings them the most runs. And they're helping other fire departments in the county as well. They're providing these modems and heart monitors outside of us as well. But they've always been a player with us in EMS as far as helping us do the best thing we can for the community. I truly feel like they do care about Licking County and the city of Newark and what we provide here. So he's been a great Rob has been a great person, and his staff always very responsive to what we need. So
good follow-up with that.
Yeah.
I agree with you, and I wasn't necessarily hinting at the fact that he should chip in and buy us the other 2 heart monitors. But what I would like to suggest is that, I don't know if you would send it back to the safety committee or just work with Director Spurgeon and the mayor, but some type of report that shows what LMH has done for the city. And I know it's a lot.
It is.
And to be able to compile something like that, and if the mayor would, I mean, it's great to hear this. It's not out in the public. It'd be great if we could do some type of recognition for Lincoln Memorial, showing them as a good neighbor.
And not only Lincoln Memorial, but there's a lot of private entities in the city of Newark that have helped. And it's, I mean, when you really need something, the people seem to step up and really help out. So I'm just, even with the ATV, the money we've raised from the ATV, there's so many people in the community that helped out, and it's wonderful to see the support that people have for us.
Yeah, and Jeff, we can probably reach out to Rob and let them make that decision, whether they'd like that public or not, or how.
Right, and I wondered about that. Part of that was whether or not.
I meet with him a fair amount, and he surely understands with them the gratitude and thanks.
Yeah, I don't necessarily.
I know what you mean.
I don't necessarily mean that we have to have particulars public, but if we could help them with public perception and let them know that they are doing things for us and for the city and for the citizens. Just some public recognition for them doing well.
Thank you.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman. Chief, I just want to say, I don't know, it seems like this year has just been a very, as far as, representative of the citizens and watching you work in your first year in this role, it's just been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I've seen you, work through when we had sort of a controversial debate last summer. You worked through that very, very professionally. I've seen you give presentations to our youth council, which I appreciate you talking to the youth of our youth council. And then you mentioned social media earlier, so we do follow each other on social media and Facebook. So I do appreciate your postings and things there. And then as Carol said, just last weekend, considering the magnitude of what happened with the officer's funeral, participation there, and you posting the pictures, that was great.
Thank you.
I do have a few questions though, because I am one who views these presentations as educational opportunities.
Sure.
I work in an educational environment, so I look at this as a learning opportunity. I'm not a fire person or ever been involved there, so please take these questions in the light of I'm just looking for information to learn.
Absolutely.
When we look at the when we talked, I'll go off of Jeff's comments first. When we were talking about the Lincoln Memorial Hospital and you're looking at the EMS runs, which are seem to be a primary run of what we're doing.
Sure.
I know at one point there was discussions of having an urgent care center or something in the downtown area. Would that alleviate some of these runs if we were able to send people to another location to get some type of these medical services?
In my personal opinion, I think that we have an education, we can probably put out some education about what is a 911 call, what is not. There are, and we're no different than the city of Columbus, and percentages of calls that probably aren't 911 emergency calls that we respond to. However, we don't know that until we get there and help somebody. So some education would probably be the first step in this, whether it's public service announcements, articles in the paper, maybe just getting out and talking to people about that. The wave of EMS right now is getting into what's called community paramedicine, and it's going through legislation right now at the state level. They don't have rules written for it yet, but it is in an effort to reduce the amount of transports to the hospitals. Under current law, there is some hospitals that are being fined for people that are being readmitted in a certain period of time from the same specific illness. So we're trying to take these people and get them the proper care they can the first time, send them home. They don't have to come back to the hospital, which reduces the burden on the hospital. I don't know if we're manpower. We're not set up to do that in the city of Newark. It is something that very few Ohio agencies are going to go ahead and try to do this on their own that have the funding to do that, to get out into their communities and educate people, meet with them, help them take their medicine, explain their discharge instructions, those types of things as a paramedic. So it's kind of in the early stages right now, but there's all kinds of ideas to try to reduce the burden on the fire departments and on the local hospital systems. So it's something that, just in today in a meeting that I attended in Columbus with other fire chiefs from Central Ohio, it was a topic of discussion of how we can do that. And it would eventually reduce the burden on the fire department and EMS systems as well. I hope I answered your question.
I got a bunch, so I'm sorry.
I got a bunch too, so whenever you get done, I'll...
Okay. Well, I was, has there been any communication with this? Because I know there's a I don't know, health clinic that's a little down here, only open on a few days a week, but could some of those EMS runs, people, if they were educated, they could have went there? Or
Yes.
That is a yes, okay.
Yes, absolutely. I think that we can... some people, they don't know what to do when they're injured, and even though it may not be a life-threatening injury, we do offer advice to them about what to do. We don't transport everybody that we run on. If it's not a life-threatening injury or something that can be handled in another means, our medics offer advice to them about how to handle that without going to the hospital or without doing other things. Maybe get into your family doctor tomorrow, those types of things. But it's definitely an issue. It's not specific to Newark either. I'm sure you're aware. It's all EMS systems right now. They're just kind of like a home health care system is what it is.
And then I'm just not familiar, but on page 17 of your report, you talk about with the heart attacks and I guess I don't understand what was the controversial. You said the treatment option was very controversial. I'm not familiar with what that procedure is that was controversial.
The cardiocerebral resuscitation, there in the second paragraph.
What is that?
It was when our previous medical director, Dr. Howard Mell, was a medical director that came to Newark and basically had cutting-edge EMS information. He was involved throughout the nation as a speaker and was involved in studies in Seattle and studies in Dallas and other different studies that showed better survival rates if we do compression-based CPR. That was a change in this region from doing CPR, where you give 2 breaths and 30 compressions and 2 breaths and 30 compressions. We're going to 800 compressions before we get an airway on someone now.
So it's the amount of time that you're pressing on someone's chest is the change? Okay.
It is. It's good, fast, hard, deep chest compressions, and your airway is not maintained until after 800 compressions are done. And then that is... When he came in and sold that to the fire department here, we all were scratching our heads like that's everything we never were taught, and it goes against everything. But the data spoke for itself, and we were seeing people walking out of Licking Memorial Hospital after a cardiac arrest event, and you can't deny that. And now that it's catching on, several years later, other departments are going to this protocol as well. So I kind of feel like we were leading the way for other EMS agencies in Newark. And it was just a wonderful thing, but it was controversial with the American Heart Association. They weren't teaching it, and it's different things. Now the American Heart is now talking about going to this. So,
great.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, when we're talking about prevention, and we talk about the Red Cross working with your department to give out the smoke detectors. I think it's on page 22 of your report, and you talk about, you have statistics there for smoke detectors, and it says 0, 0.
Yeah, that is not accurate information there.
Okay, so that is...
The state, what's really nice is every year State Farm comes out and it donates smoke detectors to all fire departments. They come to a county chiefs meeting, they give us bags of smoke detectors and say if you need any more. We give smoke detectors out all the time to people that stop by. We had a home safety inspectors program there for a year that was grant funded, where we gave out a plethora of smoke detectors, and we have hearing impaired smoke detectors as well. So we're always interacting with the public. If somebody needs a smoke detector,
I do.
Absolutely, we have them to give. We were installing them in their homes. We'll do all kinds of prevention needs. We'll send a fire truck out to do that. We are doing more and more. I'd like to be able to focus more on somebody just doing that in the community. Because right now, Ashley Baker, who is our prevention person, is every day doing inspections in businesses and those types of things. I don't have that personal touch in the community where I can go out and meet and educate people and give them what they need all the time. However, we have people knocking on the door at the fire station, can I have a smoke detector? I just had somebody the other day I helped who it was a single father with 3 kids living in the downtown area, had no smoke detectors in his house. And we took care of him immediately. So if the need is there, I'll find a way to fix that. I think it's very important we provide that service. Some things are documented, some are not. We'll try to get out there and measure these things as we can get more prevention staff on.
That's great. Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Rath, you have a question?
Yeah, Chief, we know that you have a very, Mr. Marmon has a question. Do you want to have him go first?
I just wanted to know that I've been like out here for...
Oh, I didn't see you, I'm sorry.
Well,
Mr.
you
Rath,
were-
go ahead, and then Mr. Marmon, you're next.
All right. We all know that you have a very risky job, and I appreciate that. And I also am very well aware that the risks in your job aren't just a burning building, but there's many other risks.
Correct.
I saw an article today where there's a local fire department, and I forget the community, but I'm sure you know exactly who I'm talking about, that has made the decision to allow their firefighters to carry concealed weapons if they are CCW carriers.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? What's your opinion on that?
I knew
I'm
that
not
when I
asking
saw...
you to establish policy tonight.
Right.
Just-
No. I knew when I saw that article that was going to create some controversy with several people. Currently, I haven't put much thought to that after I read that article. That is one fire department. That's groundbreaking. But that's something that I have the utmost confidence in the Newark Police Department, who protects us right now. When we go on runs and we need somebody to be there, the Newark Police Department's right there for us every time. They provide a great service to us. There is that opportunity, there is a chance now in the public, as everyone reads and sees the evening news, where firefighters and police officers alike are being shot at. I don't know why that is. It's scary. I think, can that happen in the city of Newark? It happened in Danville. Yes, it can happen here. We have to be more aware of what's going on in our lives out on the street every day to try to prevent that. It is possible that something like that would happen here in the city of Newark. That discussion that you're mentioning is something that goes long beyond just making a decision in a meeting like this. That's hours of discussion and legal advice moving forward. But currently there's nothing here that we're talking about. That's the first time it's ever been mentioned. So I would never even venture to guess where we would go with that. But I did read that article as well. It's interesting. That's groundbreaking.
You recall what community that was?
No, not off the top of my head.
But it was here in Ohio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Marmon.
Yes, everything that you indicated in the report, I mean, I know how tough it's been and the great job that all the firefighters have done facing, in particular the budgetary issues and some of the other issues facing all small communities. However, I wanted to ask, where are we on looking at the various staffing models, the various scheduling models? I provided you the name of a chief that reached out and didn't hear if we looked at that or talked with that chief or anything.
Coshocton.
Where are we at?
Yeah, I think they're on a 10 and 14 schedule.
Correct.
We've been on that schedule. I don't have enough people that take 4 platoons to do that. We only have 3 and we're short. We were used to be on a 10 and 14 schedule. I know, I remember the conversation you and I had. As far as staffing models go, it all based on what money I have to operate. And currently I don't have enough money to have everyone staffed the way it needs to be to provide service. There are mutual aid companies coming into the city every day from the city of Heath, Newark Township, Newton Township, Granville, that take our runs because we're tied up at the time. It's a very dynamic situation. We could sit around for 2 hours, have nothing, and then 5 runs immediately in a row happen. Newark has always been historical. That's the way it's always been. We're constantly looking at the way we staff. We meet with the local 109, and we talk about how we can provide the best service. It is an everyday thought of mine. It's an everyday getting into a spreadsheet and saying, what's the trending information we've had for 10 years? What's the trending information last year, monthly? And what is it this year in overtime costs and staffing costs? I don't have the gold pot at the end of the rainbow to make things the way we think they should be. I have to operate within the money that's allotted. And I understand that the city has a lot of, everyone's got their hand in the pot needing things done, and you specifically want paving. And that's been an important part of the infrastructure of the city. My hand's in there to provide fire service. And I understand all of those things. Something's got to give somewhere, or I have a little bit and you have a little bit, instead of you have all and I have none. So that's how we're at. I don't want you to think that we're not thinking of the way we're staffing. The current staffing model saved some money at the second half of the year last year because of overtime costs. It does brown out that East End fire station. So until I can get more money in the operating budget, hire some people, I don't know if that's going to change much in the very near future.
Well, I mean, looking at, once again, it's always been mentioned that part-time is not necessarily off the table. Are we still looking at that, or is that a good deal? Are you continuing to look at that?
Part-time is not off the table. It's something that we constantly have discussions with the union on. It is a negotiations year this year. That is a difficult situation, as we've dealt with already this year. We have, Director Spurgeon, myself, Director Buskirk, the mayor, we've all talked about where we want to go, what we want to do as far as providing the best service at a reasonable price to the community. That has to be discussed as part of the discussion moving forward. We'll do everything we can to try to make the right decisions for the people. At the end of the day, it's the service that we provide to them and what their expectations are that we provide them. So everything should be on the table when we make those decisions, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so back to when are we going to hear anything? Or what are we going to do? Just wait?
We're going to measure some things on our staffing right now, and we're in discussions with the local union, with the administration in regards to where we want to go. I need more money to operate.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm just going to flat out say it. It's not coming in 2016. In order for it to come in 2017, it has to be voted on in 2016, of which that isn't going forward at this point that I'm aware of. Even then, in 2017, the money won't necessarily be there. That's the first year of collections. So you don't really see that in 2017. So for 2 years, you're not going to get any more money.
Right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say it then too. The city will get what they provide. The money I have to operate will get that. Yes, I'll be more efficient. I will look into things such as part-timers and those types of things, but there are some things that that are most likely going to be negotiated during the negotiations time. If you don't negotiate that, you will spend thousands in defending it. And that is the facts. So we'll have constant discussions in regards to these types of things moving forward. I'm not making a decision today. We've thought about this. It is on my mind. We got to see what the community needs and expects, and try to do that. So I'm open. Everything's on the table right now.
Mr. Cost, did you have a question?
Pardon?
Does Mr. Cost have a question, or you redirected?
I'm still doing the same.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you talk to the Coshocton Fire Chief who said he went from the same model that you were on to that? Did you talk with him?
I did not talk to him. In my understanding, the way they're much smaller than we are, but I don't believe that's going to be a cost savings for us, because we can't spread them out, our people that we currently have, into 4 shifts on 10s and 14s. We worked that here. I did work that shift here years ago. It takes more people to do that. We have 4 stations now. Back then we only had 3.
How many were operating out of right at this moment?
At this moment we have all 4 stations are open. Right now. We have staffing today to operate Station 4.
Mr. Cost.
Chief, following up on Jeremy's question about urgent care kind of approach to things.
Sure.
With the triage center that you have in the downtown station now, I'm kind of curious as to, A, how much awareness there is of that and how busy it is. Do you have a lot of walk-in situations for that triage center? Are people in general aware of that?
Probably not. The old fire station, we had a lot of walk-ins, blood pressure checks, my finger's cut, can you cut this ring off for me, and so on. You name it, we had a lot of walk-ins off the street. We haven't experienced as many walk-ins as we have in the past. However, we're still having some. It's not really something to be advertised to come here and be treated for every ailment that you have. However, it is open to the public. The front door is open. We have information. It was generally people within walking distance of the station that would stop in or just stop in for a blood pressure check, and that is always something we've always done and still do that. It does make a difference, honestly, that the building sets off from the street a little bit, and we may not get as much walking traffic as we used to. But we haven't advertised that as somewhere to come and get treated for your injuries. Did I answer your question, I hope? Okay.
Mr. Blake. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, I'm looking at the nature of incident for your EMS calls. And we know that there is, amongst our citizens, there's mental health issues.
Absolutely.
And there's also drug addiction on our streets.
Yes.
When, I guess I would like to explore if you could comment a little more on the numbers that you provide in your report, but when they're dealing with drug addicts that are overdosing or something of that nature, I mean, what type of training are they going through to be prepared for that instance? And if the person's in schizophrenia or bipolar, I mean, I guess I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how your employees have been responding to those types of things.
It's interesting that you asked that question because that is a hot topic nowadays. With the usage of Narcan on the street with police officers, it's become an over-the-counter medication that counteracts the drug overdoses. The mental health situation is definitely one of the primary reasons that we have the issues that we have. Education on mental illness is now starting to be something in paramedicine. If we have a call like that in the city of Newark, it involves both agencies. Usually the fire and EMS and the police will respond there. Our responsibility as a fire department is to take the best care of that patient we can, take him to Licking Memorial Hospital, where they have the education and resources to be able to evaluate that person for any type of mental health care issue that they're having. I think that locally we're realizing that probably needs to be beefed up a little bit to help the people in the community. We'd love to be part of that. I think that would curb some of the issues that we have in our community. I think it's a tall order as well. I think that we're all talking about what leads to the drug problems and the mental health issues. They're connected in some way, usually. So we still provide that service to people, but we transport them to Licking Memorial Hospital, where hopefully they have the education that they need.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any communications with behavioral health care partners or any of the nonprofits that are dealing with mental health issues?
We've had probably 2 trainings in the last few years with them to talk about how we respond to these calls and what we do. It's an awareness type of training, but we are obviously trained to evaluate somebody needs help, that they have a mental issue. Sometimes we have to transport somebody against their will but they are not mentally capable of making their own decisions. And that's something that we are trained to do with the police department. So sometimes the police department will help us, they'll transport, most of the time we transport to the hospital. But the main goal for us is to get them somewhere where there is somebody that can help them. And that's the service we provide.
Thank you. I have a couple questions for you as well, and more of it is clarification. So we have 76 firefighters, correct?
Yes.
So throughout all last year, we were running into some statistics questions, how many firefighters we have, what the process was. So I just want to kind of lay everything out. Unit 1 has 24, Unit 2 has 24, Unit 3 has 23. Is that correct?
I'd have to look at the numbers. There's 6 administrative, and the rest are on shift. They're all scheduled on shift, yes.
Is there one overlap of administrative and on shift?
No.
Okay. So all administrative or outside of the units?
Correct.
So for Station 1, you have Rescue 1, a reserve engine, Tower 1, and Medic 1.
Correct.
For Station 2, you have Ladder 2, Medic 2, and Reserve Medic 2.
Correct.
Station 3, you have Engine 3 and Medic 3.
That's correct.
Station 4, you have Engine 4, Medic 4, and Reserve Medic 4.
Yes.
And then you also have the hazmat unit at
Station 3. Correct.
And Station 1 is downtown, Station 2 is Hollander, Station 3 is the west end, Station 4 is the east end.
That's correct.
So looking at the statistics, I have, one of the questions that I have is on the fire stats. So there was 51.48% of runs were on rescue, and 45% of those were EMS assists.
Correct.
So when those go out, What role does the fire truck play and the 3 additional firefighters on the scene?
We helped curb some of the response issues we were having years ago by, we used to send on anything that was advanced life support needs, such as chest pains, difficulty in breathing, those types of things would get a medic and a fire truck for personnel reasons. We stopped doing that and we're just sending a paramedic unit with 2 people on those types of calls. The only time we send 2 vehicles, which would be a medic and an assist company, is a non-breather, unconscious, or seizures. So those three calls get additional people because you're going to need additional people to manage that call in some cases, whether or not it's drawing up medications, providing chest compressions, getting down the flight of stairs, those types of things. So we're just sending out a medic unit on anything else. It's important to note that the medic out of the rescue out of downtown is busy because the medic out of downtown is gone. So when the medic in downtown is gone on a call, the rescue will first respond to somewhere in this district to start and initiate care while another medic from another district is on the way. We are in a business of minutes, and minutes do matter. There is a lot of tax dollars that are spent to provide that service. However, we don't know until we get there exactly what's going on. We rely on a dispatcher to tell us exactly what they think is the problem at the time, and we adjust our response as needed. Medic 1's fairly busy, so the rescue takes a lot of runs out of downtown first to try to reduce the response time to help that person. We're all paramedics. Almost all of us are paramedics or EMTs and carry life-saving. The fire trucks you see going in town, they're emergency rooms that just can't transport. We have cardiac monitors, ACLS drug therapy, all the things that you need to provide service.
And so that 45% of EMS assist is just kind of first responding?
It is either first responding or going with somebody on a more complex call, such as a non-breather, unconscious, or seizures.
I saw in your report that there was 8 firefighter injuries. Is that
Yes.
correct? Is that still the same for 2016 or?
Well, we just started 2016, so let's hope that doesn't
Well, I didn't know
happen.
if there was carryover from 2015 or?
Yeah, we still have one person that's off on extended with a back injury. Everyone else seems to be returned to work. If we start off 2016 like we did 2015, I'm going to turn some more gray hair. I pray every night that we don't have any injuries within our ranks and people can stay healthy and come to work, and they want that as well.
And so when you have somebody out on extended leave, you have 76 firefighters. Is that taken from one of the units that they're assigned?
Yes, yes, they come off. If they're injured, that's usually an injury that happened on duty. They're off duty, and that shift runs short.
And then typically you wait to see who comes in for the night to see if you need an overtime person.
Yeah, we go by numbers. How many do we have on duty? If we drop below 14, we call somebody in on overtime.
Current minimum staffing is 14 people, correct?
It is 14. We're maintaining 16 as much as we possibly can, but 14 is the number where we will replace 214. So that makes stations 3 in the west end cross-staffed, so there would be 3 people jumping back and forth. So when the medic's out, the engine's out of service, and vice versa. The east end is closed, and then stations 1 downtown and 2 up north are staffed.
So with 16 people for kind of the optimal level that you're looking for, so we're looking at 8 people that have either vacation, Kelly days, sick. Is there any other scenarios that I'm missing?
No, I think that we have 3 to 4 off on Kelly Day every day, and 2 on vacation. Outside of that, there's no scheduled any time off. So if we have a person that's sick, and it's important to note that this job, you get people coughing in your face all the time in the back of the medic. They do get very ill a lot of times. So sick leave usage at this time of year is probably more than it would be.
More than one.
Yeah, because everyone's ill and you're transporting all the sick people to the hospital every day. So your chance of being ill is probably much, much higher. But that's... some days of the week it's 4 off on Kelly Day, which is a scheduled day, and it's important to note that the scheduled day off, the Kelly Day, takes the work week down to a 48-hour work week from a 56, which if they worked that day, they'd have to be paid for 56, which according to FLSA, they'd be required to be paid overtime for those hours. So that's why the Kelly Day was factored in there to be able to save what we have to pay them.
And so Kelly Day is often confusing to people. I'm not one that's not super confused by Kelly Days.
Okay.
At the beginning of the year, you see what days of the month, you're going to line up 3 work days, and then you pick that day of the week?
We're on a 21-day cycle for Kelly days, so you pick a day of the week, a Monday. I work, if I'm a 24-hour firefighter, I work every third Monday. Every third Monday. Well, if that's your day off, you just wouldn't work that day. And I think people think they get paid for a day off, but you're not really getting paid for that, because that average takes your hours down to 48 weekly that you would work. It is a little bit confusing how we do that, but that's how that's factored. If that made sense to you.
And then, just to clarify as well, Fire Station 1, 5 to 6 members?
Or 6. Every day.
It depends on staffing, or is it?
We have 6 every day.
6 every day?
Mm-hmm.
Fire Station 2, 5 members?
Correct.
Fire Station 3, 5 members?
There are 5 when staffing allows. Sometimes when we're at 16 people, that station is. I'd have to look at the spreadsheet, but there's sometimes when we drop below staffing, it is cross-staffed with 3. So that'd be.
Yeah, so 3 to 5, depending on staff.
Yeah, if we're at 16, it's staffed with the medic and an engine.
Mm-hmm. If
we drop below 16, it's not. It's cross-staffed.
And then 2 to 3 in Fire Station 4 for jump medic or engine. Is that right?
Yeah, we have to have 3 in order to have the engine in service to cross-staff.
Yeah.
So usually it's 2. At 18, we have 2 out there. 18 daily staffing, medic 4 is open. If we have 19, then engine and medic 4 will cross-staff. They'll jump back and forth depending on the emergency.
Looks like about $4 million from earmarked EMS billing, safety levy 2001. So you have $2.5 million from the safety levy, $1.4 million from EMS billing, so $4 million from the rest of the general fund. I think my final question that I'm going to have to you is the MDT system and pre-plans. That was something that was one of your 2016 goals.
Yeah, and our MDTs is the mobile data technology that we have in the vehicles, or computers, allows us to get information from the 911 center very quickly. It's instantaneous. When they push a button and dispatch us, that map comes up and we can see where we're going, what type of information we need. It's typed information back and forth, messages. There's a barking dog in the back, be careful. All kinds of different information that we can have through our mobile data technology. We hope to go ahead and put our prevention data into that computer as well, so when we respond to a building, we know what the issues are, where the fire connections are around the building, any hazards inside. So those are goals moving forward with our mobile data technology. What was the other question you had?
Pre-plans.
And the pre-plans, moving those into that. It takes people to put these pre-plans together and put them into the software. So we're just we're hopefully getting more people in prevention where we can focus on that. I just don't have the staff currently to collect all that data and input it right now, but it is a goal of ours.
And the pre-plans are for specific runs or
yes,
scenarios?
Specific buildings. So we could pre-plan this building right here. We know exactly where all the gas shutoff is and where the stairwells are and access for people, where the water, everything about this building. So an incident commander can show up and the building's on fire, say the gas shutoff's on the D. David side of the building, about in the middle of the building, and send somebody there. So we don't have to waste time looking for specific things. It talks about occupancies and all those types of things. How many people during the day, how many people during the night, is there people sleeping in that apartment or not? Those types of things.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, when I look at the response times on page 27, what's the difference, or what's the definition of metro, urban, and suburban?
Those are just defined specifically by accreditation standards. The metro urban is downtown Newark, classifies as a metro urban area. Suburban is more of our outlying areas of Newark, the more of a suburban area. But as far as the accreditation standards and what they look at is exactly what classification that is. Metro urban is the downtown immediate area that we've drawn on a map for them that is higher density downtown living type of area. And then suburban, of course, is your residential other areas outside that don't have the industry, kind of the buildings and things like that.
Mr. Marby.
Yes, can we get a sampling of some of the metrics that are being analyzed for what you said, that you're analyzing metrics for staffing models and also for scheduling models? Can we get a sampling of what we're kind of looking at to determine where the direction that we're going?
What exactly do you want?
Whatever
specific. Okay. Currently what we're using is the metrics we're providing from our record management system right now. There's I guess, You just want information from other fire departments? I'm not following your question.
No, you said you're analyzing metrics to determine what direction to go. I want to know what those are.
Right, those are what's provided in the report here. As far as Newark specifically, where I would need staffing and how, and where I would put those people, those response apparatus. So depending on the percentage of runs in a specific area, throughout the year through trending data, I would know whether I need to put a medic in one area more than another. So I would know where to brown out a station or move resources.
Okay, so all the metrics are in this report.
All of the metrics are in this report. Everything we have with station. At the end of the report, there's EMS and fire statistics are broken down into each and every.
Yeah, I
so.
saw that. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, my last question, Chief. What, when you go up for accreditation in 2017, what would be reasons why we would not get reaccredited?
I'm not going to answer that question specifically because they take a whole bunch of variables into the mix. What they want to see, first and foremost, is that we're attempting to move forward and that we have a foundation in the city in place that helps us move forward. It is not necessarily a performance level that you have to achieve, but a performance level you want to achieve, and we have the support of the city moving forward to achieve that over a period of time. We have a plan to try to get there.
So
that's
the
what
old equipment that we have won't count against us, then they'll see that we're trying to replace things.
In the equation, in the whole big equation, specifically talking about that, they would have to see a plan of replacement. Now they obviously understand that you might not have the money to do that, but we are working with the city to try to get that done. That's how we address that.
Thank you.
How do you feel about the response times? It was kind of hard for me to read the response times data based on the 90th percentile.
Yeah, the 90th percentile basically means that those times were achieved 90% of the time. There was 10% where it was variance in there. So we are meeting a pretty good standard based on areas that we cover. We could probably, the city of Newark could probably easily have 5 paramedic units in service and be busy and stay busy. And probably areas of our town, there are areas of our town that need coverage to protect people that would reduce those times. But that is what we have to work with right now. I'm comfortable with the response times we currently have. That's why you see the fire trucks running around with paramedics on them, helping people, starting chest compressions before the medic unit can get there from the north end or the east end, wherever. So we're dedicating some resources to provide the service we can to the best of our ability. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely. That should be it for me. Is there any other questions from citizens, members of council?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I appreciate all the questions.
Once again, thank you for all you did this weekend. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
There was a lot of feedback online. The website is fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
A lot of my information there. And with that, we'll close out the safety committee. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.